And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
That's right. That's all we do here is good people. I mean, you know, you plan things out, you have people drop out last minute. No offense to Troll Toll Trav. No, I'm just kidding. We love Trav.
The man's planning a wedding.
Yeah, he's got big fish to fry, and
super big fish.
Who am I to? I literally said to him, I was like, "Do what you got to do. We get it. We've all been there." It's like,
right. I mean, a case could be made. We could change this to Andy, Are You Okay? A B-roll podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Our affectionate nickname.
B, Are You Okay? That's we'll figure it out. We do something. I don't know. We all we do is like brand and trademark random things that we'll probably never use here. But hey,
facts. You know.
That's what we're best at.
Some on the other side would say that the intros are too long. You know.
Oh, too long. Way too long. Tell me this wouldn't work in a fucking video format. That's right. I just did a fart noise into the mic.
Love it.
Yeah.
I looked away. I was like, wait, what the fuck was that?
Hey, man. Fuck the haters. Fuck QVC. Fuck.
Hey, facts. Fuck QVC unless they come back and like, hey,
unless they come back.
Our mind. We changed our mind.
We're not actually mad at you. I actually think that
I understand.
There was one of those things where I was like, this is not gonna happen. I was like, they're gonna hear one episode and then it's not gonna take off.
You know
it's not gonna fly.
One day, it's not today, but one day we got to do like a politically correct episode and let that be like our pitch.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
like only listen to this episode.
Yeah.
Really,
for those who don't know, which is most people listening, Matt, myself, and Siebes were almost petitioned to, well, not petitioned, but I guess like called into action,
selected
to help host a May the 4th event, which we were all kind of shocked by because of the not safe for work nature from our podcast. Although we know our shit here, so they don't call me the human holocron for no reason. I mean, I'm literally talking to Rogue One as we speak, so. We're in there.
Checking in.
But
Rogue One checking in. Rogue One checking in for part 2. Part 2. Part 1 of part 2.
Part 1 of part 2. Visions Volume 2. You are listening to Andy, Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast. Thank you, Matt. So glad to have you on. Unfortunate to not have excited. Travis with us today, but he will be in for part 2 of part 2.
Part 2. Hardcore parkour. Part 2,
yes,
part 2.
100%. Yo, I am currently. This is Tangent Podcast Central, so you're just gonna have to get used to it. But Rachel and I are fucking building the Office Lego set right now.
I saw. I saw she put it up on her Instagram. I was geeking. I was like,
it's such a good build. Like, I highly recommend it for fans of Lego out there. Obviously, I haven't bought a Lego set that's not Star Wars in forever until I got that Office set, but it's amazing. So
a tangent to your tangent. Whoa, my grammar. there's an Office convention that travels the world.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So, but here comes the tangent to your tangent. Weirdly enough, when they do the Pennsylvania run, it's not in Scranton.
Frauds.
Missed opportunity.
Whoa, you don't like Lackawanna County? Is that not a prime place to be?
Missed opportunity.
They could go to the mall. We could put our hands in beat covered fucking dye and go to the mall. It'd be great.
Yeah. Next time it comes around, I'll send it to you because it was I didn't find my friend sent it to it was over the summertime, I think. Maybe it was the end of the summer or the beginning of fall. It wasn't that long ago, but yeah, it wasn't in Scranton.
I think it's really funny that you said I'll send it to you instead of we're going.
Oh no, we're going.
We're going.
We're definitely going. That was a prerequisite. That was implied.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just feel like that's a missed opportunity that they wouldn't do it in Scranton.
Totally agree. Beat capital of the USA, as far as I'm concerned.
You dig me? It's Brittany, bitch. Come on.
All right. Anyways, back to Star Wars.
Anyways, I fucking loved this. Like, I know
was
we're only
so
doing
good.
episodes 1 through 4 today, but
Yeah.
we just I don't know, we might have hit record. I don't be knowing when we start recording and when we don't. You know, I hit the button.
We're in there. It's all right. It's in there.
But in its totality, I can comfortably say that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I loved Visions 1, but I thoroughly enjoyed 2. Like,
yes.
Way more. Like, it wasn't even close. Like,
As a whole, collectively,
Yeah.
it's much stronger outing. We talked about part 1 and part 2 of Visions Volume 1 already. I very much enjoy a few of those shorts. I think that, like, if I were to rate them out of 10, every single one on this list has a close to that, like, 7 to 10 star range for me.
I struggle to figure out which one's my favorite. Like, I go back and forth.
I came in with mad bias, and the one that I was biased towards was so good that I made myself stop watching because I didn't want to unfairly compare the rest of them to it.
Is it in this part?
It's not in this part. It's the first. It was the one by Studio Mirror who did Legend of Korra. So I can't wait to talk about that. Journey to the Dark Head. Yeah, that was my favorite. But we still have 4 heavy hitters here. I know one that you're particularly excited to talk about because you made a big deal about it when we did our Star Wars celebration. It was really good. Like, that one was so heartwarming in ways I didn't expect it.
And it was placed perfectly. Like,
it was.
In terms, you know, like 1, 2, and 3 were like very heavy. Like, especially 2.
Oh my god! Yo, we are going to talk about that one probably at length. I'm so excited to get into it. But you're right; it was really, really well placed.
So funny. So my younger daughter, who doesn't make a cameo today, she's not here. So she kind of was like floating in and out of my room. But for 2, she like sat next to me and watched it, and she like was like scared, like she was like, "Oh shit!" And I was just like, "Yeah, I didn't expect this to be like this."
Yeah, I know.
I was like, probably not the best one for you to be watching right now.
No, and I not that I want her to be scared, but I'm not surprised that she had such a visceral reaction because it definitely has. So in case people don't know, I don't think I've ever talked about my process, but whenever we are going to talk about something on the podcast, I watch it once for enjoyment, and then I watch it a second time to take notes. That's how I do it. Everything. For The Mandalorian, for any shows we cover in the future, for this. So last night when I was rewatching this to take notes, I literally tapped Rachel on the shoulder because I was watching it from our bed, and I was like, "Hey, you're going to hear like loud screaming, so don't be alarmed," because that was something that caught me off guard the first time I was watching it. And we're jumping a little bit of ahead. Why don't we fuck it? Let's go out of order because the SITH,
let's do it.
SITH, which is the first episode, deserves its flowers. But like, it was a fantastic short. There's something very specific I want to talk about in that one. But we've already kind of dived into Screecher's Reach by a Cartoon Saloon, and holy shit, it just sees.
Love
yeah. Go you know what? Go off, Matt. Give me some of your thoughts. I have some notes here that I have myself. But
funny story about Screecher's Reach, which I loved, by the way, too. Man, those fucking screams were wild.
They are.
You know, for all of our fellow streamers out there, you know, in the world of, you know, what's cable TV now anymore. So for all of our streams out there in the world, you know, like when you put on Disney Plus, and sometimes there's like a buffering issue and you'll get like a low 5 version of it before it like catches up with itself. So if you notice, like, Screecher's Reach kind of has like a delay a bit, like part of the animation style, and I thought the video was like buffering, so I kept like restarting it. I was like, come on, I want to watch this in HD. Like, so I like kept restarting it, and I was like, oh, that's how this episode is. Like, because it's like there's like a kind of like a 0.2 second delay between like the lines of dialogue and like when how the mouths move. Yeah,
it was like the dubbing was like a tad off, but it does kind
of like it was on purpose. Like, I feel like it was intentional.
It adds to the unsettling nature of the episode, right? I definitely feel what you're talking about, and I think it's hard because the animation style, it's done by the same studio, obviously, but it does change from the very beginning to like within maybe the first couple minutes, you get that it's like a pan up of everything, and they almost look like they're drawn in like chibi style like animations, and then you actually get to the real animation style when Dell leaves the factory, right? So that was interesting, and I definitely caught on to what you were saying. There's also like the textures in the animation were pretty interesting.
I liked it a lot.
This
it
one,
it was like rough and grainy.
Yeah.
I was like, I like this.
This is by the studio that did We Bare Bears. So if it feels like a Cartoon Network show to you, or it could have been, like, that's why. Because it definitely came from a studio that they've hired before in the past, and it definitely felt like that.
Did they do for Visions Part 2? Did anybody double up? Was anyone from Part 1? They got, so it's 9.
No, it was all 9 new studios. Yeah,
that's fire. That's fire.
So the short seems like extremely innocent at first, kind of like a Goonies type movie. And man, does it end on a dark note. Like, did you feel like it was going that way, or did you just think it was going to be kind of like Goosebumps type like adventure?
Another small thing that I did really like, I know, like in the in the video description, it says like a young girl and everything, and you know the names. I'm not going no names. I'm not gonna remember them.
It's Dell for the girl. Yeah. I made sure to make a note about that one. Yeah,
I liked how they kind of keep her gender innocuous, even though they say it in the the video description. It says a young girl, but like in the video, it's
very androgynous. Yeah,
it's not ever really like, oh, she's a she or whatnot. Just kind of just leaves it like, fluid, pun intended. And it was funny because, like, again, fucking from the mouths of babes, my daughter was just like, is Della a girl? And I was like, I think so. I was like, maybe. I was like, oh no, but I really liked that because it's her story. Didn't matter if she was a girl or a boy or anything in between. It just that wasn't relevant, and I really kind of enjoyed that. And that we talk about it all the time over DB4L on here, just like the age of representation and being seen, like making her gender not the focal point of her story, and just having like her journey be what it was. But to answer your question, yeah, I did not expect that ending to be what it was. I feel like they kind of like they buried the lead with it being like a Sith in the cave. Like that was kind of obvious that was gonna happen. But the ending, I was like, I wanted to know what was going on. We talked about this with Visions Part 1, like which episodes made you like, oh, I wonder what the series of this would be like.
Yes.
Like when Dell goes off with what one would presume is like a Sith Lord, it was just like, oh shit, like what's about to happen?
This felt like it could have been a turning point of a season.
1000%.
But it was like yet it's a contained narrative.
The penultimate episode.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's how it felt, and it was really, really well done. In a lot of ways, I totally agree with you. Like this feels like something that could definitely have a whole series like built around it. Like it felt that strong. The story, even in like just 14 minutes, was that good. But there was a weird dichotomy that I felt, because it felt like there was it could have been a fable about like Sith taking children away in the whole Screecher's reach, but then the actual story is like a Sith taking a child away, like kidnapping them, almost like the opposite of how like the Jedi do things, in the sense of like they come and like it's like almost like, I feel like in a lot of they do say that there are a few cultures that like hated the Jedi for taking their children away, like the Bardatans.
That makes sense.
Like they dislike the Jedi because they felt that they took too many of their people from because they had a natural like Force affinity, so they were like upset about it.
I hope they cover that in like the Acolyte. I hope that like
that'd be really interesting.
Get into the fact that it's not abduction, but kinda like Jedi's remove kids from their their families and their homes, and it's done in a bunny quote pleasant way, bunny quote. But
well, it's supposed to be an honor for like a lot of the cultures within Star Wars. They very much feel that way. But you're right. Like there's something a little fucked up about it, and we know why they do it. Like the attachment aspect of the Jedi is something that I think that a lot of viewers like struggle with to understand. Is it good? Is it bad? Like how is it? Like some would argue that Luke's attachments make him the ultimate Jedi, right? Yeah. Or it makes Anakin a more compassionate character. So to see a Sith kind of like come and like handpick somebody and pull them away just feels really weird. And it's also like, oh man, she's talking to this pendant the whole time, and she's like, guide me, give me courage, give me strength. And it's like, these are all things that you would associate with, you know, a Jedi. They have like a positive connotation to it. And in reality, it was like feeding into her overconfidence and her, like, you know, ambition to leave. And it was like very selfish choice of Del to, you know, be going through all of this just to escape.
Yeah.
And you know, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, two things that this episode did so good that I don't think people will realize until like they rewatch it. Del's decision to leave. I love how when they were sitting around the campfire and her friend was like talking up, like, hey, like, we know that you're supposed to do great things. If you get the chance to leave. But it's just like, when it is time for her to go, he's just like, damn, you gonna leave us? So it's just like, it's I love how they played the fact, like, they were talking about it, not believing that she was really gonna be able to go. Like, yo, this is our life. These are the cards that we've been dealt. You know, hey, if you can go. And she's not really gonna go. Like that type of shit. Because I would imagine there was like a familiar feeling that they've probably had that conversation many times. Like, Del's probably like voiced to her friends, like, yo, this isn't the life that I'm supposed to be living. I got to get out of here. You do it, Del. You dream big, like, change your stars or whatnot. But all right, we really, I'll see you at work tomorrow. Like, you know, like that type of situation. So like, for her to actually be leaving, there was like, until he gave her like the head nod of approval, there was like a moment. And I love how they like lingered, that they weren't all supportive of her leaving. Like, it was just like, the fuck you about to leave us? Like, really? Like, after all we've been through? Like, and I love how they sat with, like, because it was really uncomfortable. Like, when Del was just like, you know, if I can't remember what the line, but it was basically she repeated back to the friend saying that, you know, if you get a chance to leave. And I can't remember what the line was, but she was just like, yeah, you know, if I get a chance to leave, I should leave, right? And like, he didn't immediately was like, yeah, he didn't respond.
They did pause on it. Yeah.
And I really was just like, dang, that's like a crazy analogy of, like, you know, kind of what you're saying about, like, what you were just saying about the Jedi is what made me think about that. You know, like, it's a moment where somebody you care about is able to, like, go after their dreams, but it's a realization that you might not see them again. Yeah. Or your relationship is definitely about to change. Right. And not be the same. And then the second thing that I love that they did, the Sith, the alleged Sith that came and got her at the end of the episode, I love how they, like, had the character be very, like, motherly and nurturing, but you could tell that was an evil bitch. Like, you could tell, like, oh, you kill children, like, type shit. Like, oh, like, you're a bad person. And I don't know how they conveyed it, because it's like her voice was very soothing, but I think it was the fact that she didn't blink. It was the calmness too. Yeah, it was like a calmness to her voice. Like, yeah, they can't go. You got to come with me. And it was like she didn't blink, and she had like the Sith eyes and stuff. And it was just like, oh, like, you're happy for Del because she's finally gonna get to change her stars. It's like, you know, she's about to become like an evil motherfucker. Yeah, she's about to lose her innocence, like become a Sith Lord and shit and whatnot. And like the line where she was like, "Come, my young apprentice," I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, I need more. Give me more.
To your one point, I feel like I don't know. I think that I feel like we have this sentiment like within our little podcast family, but it's like, you know, if I'm going somewhere, I'm taking you with me. And there are a lot of people that have helped us get to where we're at. And, you know, I think we're going to keep them in mind. And I think if we left somebody behind, let's say we like made it big and we passed on, and it's like to like the next threshold of where we're trying to go, and we didn't acknowledge all the people that helped us like get here, they'd have that same lingering reaction, right? Where it's like, yeah, like it's like, yeah, go do your thing, but like, I can't believe you're leaving us behind. Well, she even says, my friends can come too, right? And
yeah, she had that moment where
the Sith mother is like, nah, they can't. This is your, and so she has to make that, and that's what it is. Ultimately, it's a selfish choice, and I think it's kind of ironic that it's like it should be this great thing for her, yet she's no happiness in it. You know what I mean? Like, she's crying the entire time she's leaving. Like, there are tears in her eyes, and it's pretty crazy. that something that was only 14 minutes long could evoke such like strong emotions, but like, you feel it. And I will say this, the score for this episode too, kind of sent shivers up my spine. Like, it was creepy, man. Like, and on top of just like the screeching from the cave Sith or whatever we want to call her. And then, but the thing is I also think
the cave mage.
And this is something that you and I talk about a lot when we're talking about episodes, subverting our expectations. What did you think when they were going into the cave? You were like, this is like Empire Strikes Back, and she keeps saying to herself, it's in my mind, it's in my mind, it's in my mind. It wasn't in her mind.
It reminded me of Last Jedi, when Rey had to go into that cave and like saw herself, and like had her like her out, technically not her Force awakening, like her communion with the Force, when she was getting more into it. And it reminded me of that. And it's funny that you say about subverting my expectations, because Episode 1, Sith, which we'll, like I said, we'll do it out of order.
We're gonna go back to it.
Yeah. So that shit started off so strong. I automatically, like, the way 2 starts off, I was just like, oh, this is the bathroom break episode. Like if anyone's familiar with like going to a sports game or a concert or like baseball, basketball, like there's moments in time where just like I can get up and go to the bathroom and feel like I'm not gonna miss anything.
Right.
And I kind of felt like that's what Screecher Reach, like that's what I thought Screecher's Reach was gonna be like when it first started, with all the opening up with all the kids in the bunk beds and everything, and them like working in the whatever type of factory that was. I was just like, oh, okay, like they came in strong. This one's gonna mellow us out, keep us at 500, and then it'll flow. Like the good storytelling is you can't just like start at the top and just keep it up top, which they fucking did, bro.
They did.
Like, in my mind, like there wasn't a single episode where it's just like I came down. Like I was just like peak excitement every episode. Like I couldn't wait. And even with the credits, like Disney Plus will try to like auto go to the next episode. Like it gives like a countdown, like next episode starting and this and that third. And it's funny because the I'm Your Mother episode 4, which we'll get to, like the end credits was like the Wedge Antilles like commercial stuff, and I was like, no, don't skip past it.
Yeah.
I had to like stop it from skipping. I was like, I wonder what he has to say. But Screecher's Reach, like I kind of thought it was going to be like a phoned in episode, very reminiscent. I do really like the parallels to how like Vision 1 was. Like I feel like the way that they placed a lot of these episodes mirrors how they did it in 1. And I believe what Tatooine Rhapsody was like episode 2, right?
It was, yeah.
So I kind of felt Screecher's Reach was going to be the Tatooine Rhapsody of this, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'll watch it because I 1, it's part of my job to cover this with you, and 2, because like I love Star Wars, but but then I was just like, oh, this shit's crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely the one that I think surprised me the most of all of them.
Absolutely, yeah. For sure. But I loved it. Like I said, I go back, like even now as I'm talking to you, because like I be having episodes up on my iPad so I can remember the names of the episodes. Even now, like just looking at it, I'm just like, that was amazing. That episode was amazing. That episode, like I don't know which one's my favorite. Like I go back and forth. Like gun to my head, it might be the Spy Dancer. Like if I had to pick one.
Episode.
Yeah, like if I had to pick one. But it's crazy because it's like, we'll get there with part 2. I loved the Bandits of Gulag. That was amazing too. And that was kind of it's crazy because we talk about leaving your friends and going on to bigger and better things, and then there's the part where you're happy for your friends but you're sad that everything's gonna change. Like I love how Screecher's Reach was like her leaving to be a Sith, and then with the Bandits it's the sister leaving to be a Jedi, but it's still that sadness. Like it's still, and she had the same, the sister had the same one, like, oh, my brother can come too, and she was like, no, it's just you.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck, and the brother's just like, well,
it's so funny because it's like in Screecher's Reach, it's like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't in some ways, where it's like we have no idea what Dell's future is going to lead to, but we know the implication that it's going to be much darker and much harder for her because of like our history with Star Wars. And then it's like it's almost flipped on its head when like the girl in the Bandits one is she's taken by the Jedi to go on to bigger and better things, and like it's a weird dynamics, and I mean it's one of the things I think that's why Star Wars has such staying power, because we can keep talking about it like this and analyze the shit out of it and go really in depth.
you get something different out of it every time you watch it. Like, even now, if I go back and because like I would probably say Revenge of the Sith is probably like my most rewatched. So I would say Revenge of the Sith and Force Awakens are probably the 2 Star Wars movies that I watch like the most, like that I can just throw on and be like, all right, cool. Like, you know, whether it's like white noise or like I feel like watching some Star Wars today. Those are the 2 that I usually go to the most. But it's just like every time I watch it, you know, even if it's a situation, especially like if you know if I'm in an elevated state of consciousness, wink wink, like it's like I get something different out of it every time. It's just like, oh shit, because we're tangent again, but you know we're a tangent podcast. Annie, are you okay? A tangent podcast. A
tangent podcast. Sorry.
Thank you, Mike. I struggled for a really long time making the connection of Anakin being Darth Vader. Like, it was like I viewed them as like 2 separate characters for years, and maybe that's the point. Maybe you're supposed to not.
I still kind of do. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, to me, there's the fall is so great for him that they're not the same person, and we see glimpses of it, and those moments are always so tragic for me.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you feel that way too, because it's like it's hard for me to make the connection, and I know like with Clone Wars it helped a lot because you know when you just had the movies, you know 1, 2, and 3, the prequel trilogy, you don't outside of the Tusken massacre and you know him just being angsty as fuck in episode 2, you don't really get to see like the fall, like you don't get to see like his descent into darkness. So it's just like it was always hard for me with episode 3 because you know pre the sequel trilogy, that was it for us, you know, back in 2005. Like we was like, whoa, that was great. Like I'm gonna miss Star Wars, maybe it'll be back one day. Guess I'm just gonna have to rewatch it a million times to get my Star Wars fix. And we didn't really have the shows like that. Well, we didn't have any bonus content like that, so it's always been hard for me to make that connection between, oh, that is Anakin Skywalker under the helmet. Like it's like I can watch like, you know, New Hope or Empire Strike Backs, and it's just like I be trying to like look for Anakin. Like I be like staring at Darth Vader like, is he there? Like I don't know. Like I can't make the bridge. But like Clone Wars helped a lot. Obi-Wan helped a lot. Like but like I said, it's still in my brain. I just can't make that like there's like a last little piece, a puzzle piece that is like, oh, I see it, the Rick meme, there it is.
I think it's something that it's like, and it's gonna sound stupid because it's not like it's not like we haven't accepted the fact that Anakin becomes Darth Vader, but like to an extent there's a piece of us that doesn't feel like he did, right? Yeah, like we hold up this like picture of a hero essentially. And it's like heroes get remembered, like legends never die. Like Anakin's not dead to us.
Shout out to the Sandlot. It's my favorite movie of all time.
But he is, you know, like Vader killed him, and I think that's why we separate the 2. And I think that in the supplemental content, we see the bridge gapped more often than we ever will in like the films. It's just not quite as strong. But yeah, when we get those glimpses into it, it's like it's a stark reminder of just how tragic his story is. That's why it's so good. But why don't we, speaking of his dissension into the Sith, let's roll things back just like that roly-poly-oly from the Sith. What a great droid. What a great droid. Sith by Algiri Studios. It was stylistically the most unique, I think, of any of them. There's one thing that like it kept fucking like, I heard someone say this when the Puss in Boots movie came out, and then
Puss in Boots 2, by the way, is fucking amazing.
I haven't seen it.
It's awesome.
But I really appreciate the art style. And so when on Twitter someone was like, they're like, I don't think people like realize or understand how impactful Into the Spider-Verse was for animation. And I genuinely believe that movie is a turning point in like art history. Like when people go back to talk about animation, they're going to talk about that movie, and I am genuinely convinced that like the era of animation we're about to enter, this short specifically, would not exist if it wasn't for that movie. And I wanted to give Into the Spider-Verse its flowers before we start giving this episode its flowers, because the creative choices from stylistic perspective, all the brush strokes and all the colors involved, and the risks that they were willing to take that nobody, I feel like, would have ever taken in the past 10 years, was just really interesting to see. So I loved seeing such a stylized take on Star Wars, and kind of how like they let the art bleed into the story a little bit, and we can talk about that more as we get into it. But definitely, like, what were your first reactions? Any deep thoughts that you had coming out of it? What was your feel for it?
I loved the again the parallels with like the pacing and like which episodes went where and whatnot. I loved how this first episode mirrored the first episode of Visions Part 1.
The duel, right?
Like, yeah, that it was like, oh, it's two Siths battling each other. Like, it was. This one was kind of more, you kind of knew. Well, the episode's called Sith, so it was like, with the duel, it was like when she light up her lightsaber and it was red. It was like, it was like, oh shit, like Sith on Sith fight. Like, so it was kind of more of a surprise, but I loved the parallel that it was like another Sith that was like, you know what, this ain't it. Like, being a Sith ain't it for me. Like, I'm not gonna be a Jedi, but I'm just gonna take myself off the board. I want to paint. Like, I want to be a painter. Like, this is what I want to do, and just rock out. I also, like, again, I don't know if it's me looking too deep into it or if it was supposed to be like that. I love the parallel with this episode and Journey to Darkhead, that it was like the acceptance that like light and dark do work together, which has kind of always been like the secret theme of Star Wars to me. That it was just like, you need this Jedi and the Sith. Maybe not the term Jedi and Sith, but like you need the light and the dark to make that balance, which is like,
as Luke says in The Last Jedi, right? Powerful light, powerful dark.
Yeah, like, and then Rey and Ben, I'll respect them. I'll call him Ben Solo. Them, Force Dyad. Both of them. Rey being a Jedi, but she's a Palpatine, so she's both. And then Ben being a Sith, but he's a Skywalker, so it's like he's both. So that's I've always liked for as much of a piece of shit as she was. I love the scene in episode 3 with him and Anakin when they're in like the opera house, and they're talking about like Darth Plagueis the Wise and everything and whatnot, and he talks about like the dogmatic, narrow-minded view of the Jedi. Like I love that scene because it's like Jedis, especially in that era, had sticks up their ass.
Oh, 100%.
Like they had like a
like the worst versions of themselves, which is so funny because like we hold up these heroes, but it's like I think that the reason why Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan stand so far apart from that era of Jedi too, and Qui-Gon, is because they were so different from like the council members that like really represented the Jedi Order. So sorry to cut into
I'm rolling. I'm with you wholeheartedly because it's like I look like you just said. I love that like that era of the Jedi Council was the worst versions of themselves. Like they were so arrogant, and it's funny because it's like all the shit that they gave Anakin, like for the reasons why they wouldn't give him the rank of master or like why they wouldn't let him be on the council. It's just like all the traits that they would like shun him for was them.
Yeah,
like,
they were embodying their criticisms. It was crazy.
Exactly, and it was just like it was such like a wild thing to watch because it's like I remember back to episode 1. It's like, well, it's pretty much the whole prequel trilogy, but it was more kind of like said in one, like when Qui-Gon was saying like, yo, the Sith are back, and they was just like, no, they're not. Like we would have felt it. You think Master Yoda wouldn't know the Sith is back? Like, he didn't. Like Mace got super offended. Like, bro, if the Sith was coming back, we would know. Like this wouldn't just happen. So it's just like their arrogance, like definitely that perpetuated Anakin's descent.
100%.
They made it so much worse and whatnot. But to bring it back to this episode, I like this episode a lot. Like what a powerful first episode. Like going back to expectations, like they came out the gate so strong. I was like, I don't know how to keep this up, but they sure did. And what about like the fight? And it's crazy, something that I realized, and kind of especially with Screecher's reaching this, we didn't even talk about Dell's fight with the cave mage, like because the story was so good. We didn't even like get into like the battle and whatnot. And I feel like that's something that a lot of these episodes had in common. Like the fight scenes were magical.
They were insanely good. Yeah,
all good. But like the stories were so good, it was just kind of like a beat. It was a beat.
I think that's going to be a common theme that continues to happen as we talk about these episodes.
1000%.
But I totally agree with you. We'll talk about In the Stars as well. But that one had some fantastic action sequences, fantastic action sequences, and the Sith has several of them. It's just my from a thematic standpoint, all I really have left to say that you didn't cover is that I really enjoy how the color represents balance in this short, where, obviously what we see a lot of in the beginning is like this stark white blank canvas, but when the titular character like really realizes that the darkness inside her can also be the light inside her as well, and the color shifts from black to like I don't want to call it a rainbow, but I feel like it's like they use the primary colors a lot in this episode, so it was like red, yellow, and blue and stuff like that. So that was really interesting. But I liked the conceptual design behind her. Speeder was it kind of reminded me of General Grievous's thing from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh yeah.
So that was fun. But when she does confront the Sith and the two droids, like, the character designs in this were fucking impeccable, dude. Some of the stuff makes me really wish that it's like, listen, I get it. These are animation studios like takes on what they feel Star Wars is, but let's maybe adopt a little bit of some of what they're bringing to things here and put it into future content, because it would be such a shame to see some of these things go unused again, in my opinion.
No, I'm rolling, and I know. Did you talk about the thing you said you wanted to talk about? You said that there was like something that you wanted to go over that happened.
Oh yeah, it was the Spider-Verse connection and how it's a turning point in animation. But yeah,
I loved the part where she like flips the Ahsoka line, the "I'm no Jedi." She's like, "I'm no Sith." Like I was like, "Oh, she said the thing." There it is. Like I love that scene. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember. They might have just said it straight out, or I might have just like made this opinion. She was his apprentice, right?
Correct.
Like, and then she I think it would have been really cool if it was like the other way around. Like if she was the master and that was her apprentice, and he like went to go find her. Like, oh, like you abandoned me, bro. Like what the fuck?
I do think that it's that would be pretty interesting, but I almost feel like, and who knows? I think if a Sith master was deciding to leave his toxic path with the Sith and saw the danger in it and how it is affecting him, I feel like as a mentor, if you're trying to do something better for yourself, you would also try and pull your apprentice away as well. Like, I think that just like falling to the dark side is a slippery slope. Like, going back to the light is like, once you cross the path of you're deciding like, yeah, I don't want to live and be this toxic or dark anymore, like the light starts to crack through in ways you wouldn't expect. And so I just wouldn't expect someone who's trying to find that better life for themselves to abandon their apprentice. But I do think it would be interesting. Like, you going away and back towards the light, abandoning someone just plunges them further into darkness. So yeah, I think that could have been a really cool dynamic. It's like what happened
with Crosshair and Hunter. It's like when he was just like, yo, like you left me, and he's like, bro, like you stayed bad. He's like, but you left me. Right. Like it don't matter if I followed orders or wanted to follow Order 66. You're my brother, and you left me. Like, I deserved that chance, like to not have been left behind. So I thought that would have been like a cool thing, because I feel like we've seen the apprentice breaking away from the master storyline in Star Wars so much. Like that's kind of been like the beat that they use constantly. So I think it would have been cool to see it flipped. Like it's like the master, because it's like, I think the reason why it would have been such a cool thing, because like say you have like a Sith Lord and you have their apprentice, and like they trained that apprentice so good that they're so deep into the Sith that like when the master's just like, yeah, this ain't it, I'm out. But it's just like the apprentice is like, what you mean you out? This is
everything,
this.
Right?
Yeah, you made me this. How you gonna leave?
Right.
And whatnot. You know, we might cut this out and make a little story about that ourselves.
Maybe we should just write our own Star Wars stories.
Facts. Like, we might sell that plot line to somebody else. I think that would be like a really great take. But yeah, the fight scenes are great. The droid was great. I really fuck with her ship. Like, not even just the Grievous thing, like her actual like ship that she flew off in. Like,
yeah, it was really cool.
The shit wouldn't start up.
I like that the droid like randomly turns into a turret instead of like just being this.
Hell
like,
yeah,
that was a really cool sequence
when he shot the fucking thing's head off. Like when he blasted that shit.
This is I don't know if you feel this way. Do you get sad when like droids get killed? Like, I hate in Revenge of the Sith when the buzz droids like rip off R4's head.
Yeah. He's like, oh my, oh dear.
He's I like, it's like that's. I mean, we've all heard like the R2 like scream, but when R4's head like is like hurling through space, he's like, and I'm always like, oh no, R4,
not the droids, not the droids. But no, I feel you. But that kind of like that's something Star Wars does so good. Like they like whether it's like R2 or Chopper or BD1 or BB8. What's the one from Fallen Order?
It's BD1.
Yeah, that is BD1. Yeah, and then BD1 and BB8. Gotcha. It's like these are non-verbal characters, but like they have such charisma and like
and emotion.
We learn to fall in love with them, and like they emote so well. It's like
they're the pets of the Star Wars universe. Like I get that there are actual animals and like some people have pets, but like droids, like especially like the astromech ones. Like I guess it's different when it's like the battle droid or like C-3PO. Those are much more closer to being like sentient. Beings, but I definitely
because they can talk.
right. But when they're communicating via like beeps and boops, like to me they're still pets.
Even in Mando, where he's just like, "I'm sorry, I don't speak binary. Like, I don't know what you're saying. can't help you." But Sith started off strong. I loved how they like mirrored the duel with like being the first episode and be Sith on Sith. The fight scene was fucking fire. Hey, I really liked the apprentice. I liked her lightsaber design outside of being like a yellow blade, but like her hilt was really cool.
Her hilt kind of reminded me of like a musketeer's like
hell yeah.
Why can't I think of what they're fucking called? I think they're like rapiers or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they had that like
something like that.
Really elegant like handle, and then it curves like a katana, but it wasn't quite a katana, so I wasn't gonna give it that status. And then for it to double into a like the blades curved, but the lightsaber was like kind of straight in my opinion. So that was really interesting.
They were both their lightsabers reminded me of like pirate cutlasses. Like,
like
Pirates of the Caribbean style.
No, I think you're dead on with that.
Like I fucked with it. But like you just said, like I really hope that a lot of these like designs or not even necessarily the characters, but like the ideas and the things do get used in like main canon.
I think Star Wars is ready to start branching into different designs. I don't think George, like, don't get me wrong, like there's influences that the concept artists use, and this is actually something I found out from watching a panel at Celebration, but Doug Chiang, who like is a huge creative head at Lucasfilm and was a main part of like designing, he essentially like stepped in to like Ralph's shoes for the prequel trilogy. A lot of the designs you see, like the N1 was definitely like Doug Chiang's design, and there's all the like chromium like Naboo ships and stuff, that's all him. And he talks about like Star Wars, no buttons, no zippers, and I like had like my brain exploded in that moment, because I was like, oh my god, there are no buttons and no zippers in Star Wars.
Han had zippers, I feel like. It was a vest. Yeah, it didn't.
It's right. I was like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, every time I'm looking at these like designs, I'm like, holy shit, like what the fuck? How have I never like put this together? But like, there's still room to have newer like ideas flood into the space. Like things have their feel of Star Wars, but can still be influenced by things outside of Star Wars. And
damn, now you got me looking like shit. There isn't any buttons.
It's wild, dude. I've completely rethought like how I view the costume design in Star Wars. So anyone who's listening, have fun looking at that every time you watch a new Star Wars piece.
Now I'm like, where's the buttons?
I'm sure you'll find one and send me a picture of it.
I'm determined. I'm gonna find one. I'm locked in, I'm super locked in, because like I'd have to look at it, but I feel like the jacket that Luke was wearing at the end of New Hope when they're getting like their badge
the gold one.
I feel like that had zippers. I feel like it had a zipper. It looked like a motorcycle jacket. I feel like it probably doesn't, but I feel like if I'm gonna find one, I feel like that's where I'd find it.
They do such a good job of covering it up. I guess or
even the jacket that Poe gave to Finn. That
doesn't
have zippers. Wow. Oh shit. Okay.
I know, man. I looked for it.
That is.
To be fair, I only watched The Force Awakens. Like, I think I watched it once and kind of like while I was falling asleep after I watched that panel. But I'm pretty sure I looked for it and didn't see anything.
No, it's funny you say that because like as I'm thinking about it, no one ever
has it up.
Yeah, and everybody's jacket's always open. Yeah, like no one ever has a closed jacket. Like that's crazy.
Think about fucking Cyril eating cereal.
Cyril eating cereal.
His thing is it's just on, dude. It's pressed and it's on, but I don't see buttons. There's no zippers. Like shit's crazy, dude.
Look at Star Wars. Look at that. The gift that just keeps on giving.
I love it. That's why I'm here.
Hello, Dex.
All right, so let's move on past episode 1 and 2. We'll finally go back into order for everybody and hit with the third one, In the Stars by Punk Robot, written and directed by Gabriel Azario. Wow, what an episode!
I remember it was fun. I remember when we were doing like our Star Wars Celebration review. Like this was the one that like kept like, oh, the one with the indigenous people. Like it's the one that we like kept referencing. Boy, did it not disappoint. So good, so good. I really like this one. This is another one. This was up there, and like again, I have to really sit with this and make a list of like the ones that I like the most because like, I really enjoyed all of them. But this would be high on my list. It was like really, really, really good.
I think something that I haven't said yet, and it applies to a lot of the shorts, but even in the dub, I was happy to see that the cast was very, like, they made sure that the cultures were represented. And you really feel that in this one. Like, the accents are heavy, but it fits the tone of the short so well, and it's always great to see more representation in Star Wars. Like, that's what it's about. I think George has always tried to include, more people, and so now that, Disney has taken over, all the fucking people who scream woke can go kick rocks. Like, if it's a wide galaxy and there's a million different aliens, like, there can be all different kinds of humans, and I think that's, what we're seeing from not only on screen, but behind the scenes. Like, everyone is having a hand in kind of creating Star Wars at this point. And that's one of the cool things about Visions, is that we're seeing Star Wars through the lens of different cultures, and we still get a badass story about, this was a world that was really plundered by the Empire. And I don't think we ever, like, we always hear about the people who escaped the planets that were, like, ravaged by this, but we never hear about the people who stayed behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what made this one.
And Mandalorian, the people that stayed.
Right.
Stayed behind.
There's only like 3 of them, and like they could have done a whole show about just them, surviving on Mandalore, or like a whole episode about that. And we do kind of get like that perspective here, and the cultural influence, and how different cultures perceive the Force, like through like that painting and stuff like that, and how they have such reverence for their mother who raised them, and she obviously had a strong connection, and it was like, the Force is strong in my family. I have it. My sister has it. Like, you have that power too. And it was like these 2 sisters.
Such a great scene.
The thing that I really loved about it is that it's their bond that awakened the Force in both of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that, and I mean, you have 2 daughters. I hope that they have a close, like, sisterhood relationship like that.
Thick as thieves.
I have 2 nieces. I hope that they have that same, or that are sister. I have 3 nieces really, but I have 2 nieces that are related, and I hope that they have this sisterly bond like that they can always trust each other, and maybe they push and pull and annoy each other in certain ways, just like happens in this short. But at the end of the day, they're stronger together. And that was a really cool thing to see. Anything
faster alone, further together. I say it all the time. is whatever race of alien they were, is that new? Or
it has to be, because I definitely didn't. I feel like I would have picked up on it, or at least connected it to something else, and I think that whatever they are is
familiar.
new.
Like, it didn't feel like I like you were saying, like, I don't remember ever seeing a brand of alien like that, but it's like it didn't feel like, oh, new. Like, it felt like it felt real familiar to me, like their story and whatnot. But yeah, I loved this episode. Like, there's like, I don't have any critiques. I don't really have any criticisms on any of these for about it.
Tell me more about what you like then. If you like, we don't need to fucking criticize here. Just like gush over what you loved. Yeah, I want to hear about it.
But I like, kind of, you had referenced it. I love how they don't ever like refer to it as the Force. Like, they just talk about like, oh, mom's powers and like, and this, that, and the third and whatnot. And it's, oh yeah, well, the mom's powers got her killed, and like this, that, and the third. And like the older sister like not wanting to, who like closed herself off to the Force and everything. The younger sister who was like open to it and wanted to like bask in it. I love how, like you were saying, like Star Wars is now starting to explore other places, relationships to the Force. Like, not everyone calls it the Force. Some people call it something else, like in this and the third. And I think that type of world building, and I feel like that's what Ryan was trying to do with Last Jedi. Like,
yeah,
he was like, especially like at the end with the little boy, Force pulls the broom and everything, like showing that like, oh, like it's not just the Skywalkers who can use the Force. Like, it's the Force is everywhere. It's everything that we know. So it's just like seeing these two sisters like in their different relationship and not referring to it in the Force, because we've talked about this a lot in many different reviews, whether Star Wars or movies or whatnot. I hate being spoon-fed information that I know. So like them being Force sensitive and not referring to it as the Force, and like allowing us as Star Wars fans to like just know what it is without it having a name, I thought that was great. And I'd have to like go back and rewatch, but I don't think in any of the episodes do they ever like refer to the Force as the Force. Like, it's like, I remember in like the Bandits of Gulag, they was just like, oh, this girl has powers, like, oh, this girl, she did magic and whatnot. Maybe the Inquisitor might have said something about the Force when he pulled up, and when we review it, I'll obviously like remember more because I'm gonna go back and watch those. But I like, kind of like you were saying, like each episode is like how the Force, well, the ones that have like Force sensitive people in it, it's how their relationship in it felt like different places. Like, it didn't, like with Star Wars, like the main canon stuff, you know, a galaxy far, far away, but it feels like it's the same galaxy, like everything's happening in the same galaxy. But with all this stuff, like each episode felt like it was like a different part of the universe. Like, they didn't know shit about the Skywalkers or nothing like that. It's just like, oh shit, yeah, I've never heard of them before, which I really, really liked. But yeah, man, the animation style. Which studio did this?
This one was done by Punk Robot. They're a Latin American animation studio.
Do they have any other thing that's like
this was the one that I was on. I didn't see anything like any other projects that I was familiar with, but sign me up for whatever their next fucking film is, because I thought it was beautiful. I couldn't tell. It has like a claymation vibe. I don't know if it was claymation though. I couldn't totally get it. I'd never watched this movie, although I hear good things about it. But I've seen trailers for it. Reminded me a bit of District 9. I'm not sure if
you've never seen District 9?
I've never seen District 9, but I've heard it's really good.
It is really good.
So that's kind of like the vibe I got from it. It was really cool to see the like Imperial troops and like the AT-ST in this animation style. Kind of, I know this sounds weird because I think this is like one of those things where it's an opportunity to see things that we're familiar with through a different lens, but it really made me want to see like just all the other like stormtroopers, scout troopers, like show me everything. The TIE fighter looked amazing. TIE fighter looked incredible. I loved that shot in the beginning.
I love how we can have, and that's kind of like the great thing about Star Wars. It's just like nerd culture in general. Like, you know, me and you were two completely different people. We have two completely different lives. We're bonded through friendship and Star Wars and everything. But it's like, it's crazy. Like, I had the same exact thoughts about the AT-ATs. Like in Star Wars, like the main canon, they're kind of a joke. Like we all think about, them getting beat up by fucking Ewoks and shit. Like they're not like serious threats. Like AT-ATs, like you see AT-ATs, like whatever. Like, but like this one, it felt like a boss fight. I was like, oh shit, that AT-AT about to fuck shit up. Like, and they did that really good in Clone Wars too. Like, I'm sorry, Rebels.
Yeah, Rebels. They had the like chicken walker that was like one step below the ATST, and then but then there's in season 2 there's a specific episode where when they go to meet up with some old friends that are clone friends that are on like the really broken down ATTE. The AT-ATs in that episode feel very imposing and like overwhelming, and it's interesting to see. It's like, yeah, we're all aware of they walk slow as shit. They're robot camels, as Family Guy likes to say, but they got some punch behind them. And the ATSTs, as you just referred to, are taken down by Ewoks and they get hijacked by Chewbacca. And it's like, it's like, not as
imposing. But
yeah,
like,
but in this
like,
it felt.
But like when they had did like the painting flashback of like what happened to the mom and the other villagers, and the ATST like took them out, and then like when the Imperial scout, like when she let the ATST out of the cage, so to speak, it's like it was just like, oh shit. And it was just like, because we're so, they're like AT-ATs and ATSTs and all that, they have such like an iconic look. Like it's just like, it's like it's the thing like they're so familiar. Like it's like Star Wars personified. So like to see a familiar thing in a new place and it actually kind of be like, oh shit, like, okay, like they these things do catch wreck when used properly and whatnot. But that shit was fire. Like I really loved it. I like that it was a fight about water and everything. Weirdly, when they were doing the flashback about like their mom and everything, I thought about Lady in the Water, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which I know a lot of people hate that movie, but I like it. I enjoy that movie quite a bit. Shout out to Bryce Dallas Howard, bring everything full circle. She was the star of that movie. But like I really liked like whatever species of alien this is. I loved it. The older sister's like battle mask, and you just saw really one cool eye. I thought that shit was fire. her staff, I'm a sucker for a good bow staff. Donatello's my favorite Ninja Turtle. So
I was gonna say I live for an emo haircut, so you have me one over there.
The swoop, yeah. But no, I really liked it. Like you said, the voice acting, like you said, the thick accent was very appropriate, but it wasn't like, oh, I don't understand what they're saying. It was really good, man. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about it in the stars.
No, I really enjoyed that.
So good.
A very heartwarming ending too. I kind of like the idea that it's like there's this. So obviously, it's come up on the podcast a million times. I'm an atheist, but there's a band I listen to, and I know the lead singer's an atheist, and he says, I don't believe in heaven, but that doesn't mean I don't like to picture you there.
Damn,
I love that line. It really resonates with me. So when they like look up into the stars and they're like, look, mom is there, like they're looking
it's
over us. It's like it's like if that's how like you're envisioning things, like you don't have to believe in a greater power to like kind of hope that when people pass on that there's no pain felt, and that there's I think that personally, like when people do pass on to that next stage of what's there, if they turn to dust or whatever, there's still pieces of them with you. You carry that along with you. So I very much felt that sentiment at the end of Into the Stars.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like the cynical side of me, but it's like I did love the ending too. But it's like there was still a part of me that like I felt sad, because I was just like, yeah, they took down the Empire, but they're still like the only two people on this planet. It's like, what are y'all about to do now? Like, what now?
You must rebuild.
Rebuild for who? Just y'all two?
We can rebuild them.
We can rebuild it, make them stronger. Well, yeah, it's just like, I just was like, it was such a sweet ending, and then like them seeing like it gave Lion King vibes, like like the ancestors from our past, like, up in the stars and stuff like that. But then like when it cut out, I was just like, oh, but now it's just y'all two. There's nobody there.
That's not how pollution works. The water you just freed is still
just
bad.
Went back into the polluted water. I thought that too. I was like, damn, now y'all just dumped all the clean water.
into the dirty water.
Into the dirty water. You're worse off now. Like now you don't have a place to go steal and siphon clean water. It's just all the dirty shit now. Oh, whatnot. But yeah, in the stars. Yeah, again, I can't say enough positive things about that. That's another one where it's like I would love to see. So this was one where the ending felt like an ending. Like it felt like this was the end of a movie. Like where the beginning would have been like, oh, what happened to the other villagers, and the death of the mom would have been a big turning point. And this was just like, all right, the heroes reached their final journey. So I would love to see, like what led to why the Empire came here, or like how this was before they showed up and how they took over and everything and whatnot. So yeah, this was one where I actually like felt like a ending, which I liked a lot. Yeah, and again, I can't say enough about the pacing of Visions 2. Like each episode feels perfectly placed. Like I don't know who was the person that decided the order they were gonna go, but give that person a raise.
Yeah, it definitely worked. And to talk to your point about how it kind of like, it's poetry, it rhymes. This one had to do with two siblings, just like the third one, the twins in the previous volume had to do with two siblings as well. So seeing some continuing themes. I think that we're finally going to break that theme when we go to episode 4 of
Wallace
Visions
and
Volume
Gromit,
2.
a Star Wars podcast.
I Am Your Mother, which I don't know what it was, but like if I just reading this and like knowing that was a thing, like I never would have read it like I am your mother. But like that's exactly how it is.
and to go with that, because like you know it's claymation, you know it's Wallace and Gromit. And this kind of goes what you were saying about like the mirroring, like within the Stars being episode 3, and this relates to like the twins and his two siblings and whatnot. And we talked about in the episode The Sith, she says like, the I'm no Sith, which is like a callback to Ahsoka's I'm no Jedi. Even the I am your mother, it was one of those things like when I peeped that it was just a flip of the Darth Vader line, I was like, oh shit. But it's just like it didn't register with me at first. Like, I just read like, oh, I'm your mother, and then I read like the description. I was like, all right, this is cool. But then I was just like, oh shit, this is the flip of the Darth Vader line. Like, all right, cool. That's great. Yeah, they before we get into the episode again, just to kind of go back to what I just said. The pacing, where each episode was paced, the episode titles, like they really got it right with Visions 2. Not to say one was wrong, like one was really good, but it was like their first outing. So there was some kinks, but it was like Visions 1 still epic, like still amazing, like it's still great. Like it was just like they really did their thing with 2. Like they took all the shit that worked with 1, they brought it in. The things that people might not have liked, like they fixed. Like I'd legit maybe like after my 8th watch through of everything, I might be able to like force myself to have some nitpicky shit. But it's just like everything worked for me. Yeah. Everything worked for me. Like I thought I was so hype. I was excited for I Am Your Mother just because I was a mega Wallace and Gromit fan growing up. So it's like I was just like, I didn't give a fuck if it was gonna be good. Like I was just like, I'm just excited to see Star Wars claymation. But then I watched. I thought that this would have been like a weaker episode. Like a week. Like I was just like, all right, I'm gonna like it because it's claymation. But I'm probably not gonna be like, oh, this is dope. But this fucking episode kicked ass.
It was really heartfelt. Like I felt like the comedic bits definitely hit. I say this as an absolute compliment. It felt very Disney. Which I know Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run are not Disney related properties, but
wasn't Chicken Run DreamWorks?
I think it might have been.
I don't think Wallace and Gromit was DreamWorks, but I'm pretty sure Chicken Run was DreamWorks.
But it just had that vibe. I don't know. It was fun, and then there's some really good bits at the beginning. First off, I'm a big fan of metal music, so the fact that it found its way into Star Wars, I'm definitely not complaining. But when she's working on the droid and her like blacksmith mask is the fucking Mando like mask, I was like, that's a really fun like throwaway gag type thing. So that was like, super fun.
I like how the droid, like when she was working on it, just looked like a regular, Astro droid, but then like unfolded into a dog. Like, I was like, that's just
like a slinky dog. I think that's part of like things that was like making me feel like, oh, this kind of has Toy Story vibes. It's really fun to see.
That's 1000%. It did look like Slinky Dog. But no, I really like this episode. So while watching it, I'm so glad that I remembered it, because I remember watching this episode and I was like, I can't wait to talk about this with Mike. We've heard about the Academy for so long, and we never see it ever. They always talk about the Academy, but we've never seen it. So I was super excited that we actually got to see fucking kids in school, like training to become star pilots and shit. I was like, oh, this is what Luke was trying to do. He wanted to go to the, well, granted it was the Empire Academy.
And they do. There's an episode in Rebels about the Imperial Academy, but that's
oh shit, yeah, I remember when
that's where Wedge comes from.
When he went
Wedge,
undercover, right?
Sabine goes undercover and she gets Wedge and I think it's Hobby like out of the Imperial Academy. But then to see that Wedge, this isn't, if it is canon, it's obviously a stylized version of that story or whatever. But like to see Wedge is like, oh, he's running the Alliance Academy for pilots. I love that. It's like he's like passing on what he's learned. And
it just makes sense. And it like it's so crazy how like Wedge Antilles combined probably has like less than 10 lines of dialogue, but he's just like such a mainstay in Star Wars. Like he's like Wedge Antilles is the Nick Foles of Star Wars.
You know why, dude? This is why. I'll tell you why. It's all the fucking Rogue Squadron games, because it's like you play as Luke for the first 3 missions, but then it's like Luke's got a bigger fish to fry, so you're Wedge instead. And I think that's why people love him so much. Not to mention that the whole like Rogue Squadron like line of books was, I think, one of the first things to come out when into like the Legends continuity, so there was a lot of story there for him. But I agree, like Wedge is a really underrated,
he's a
unsung hero. Yeah, he really is. He really is.
He's the Nick Foles of Star Wars. It's like he probably won't ever get his jersey retired. Like that number 9 probably won't ever be retired, but he's a Philly legend.
Yeah,
brought us our first Super Bowl.
Never forget it.
Outside of that Super Bowl, my man had kind of like a lackluster career.
He had that one game against the Raiders where he tied for most touchdowns in a game and the Super Bowl run. That's about it.
Exactly. So it's like that's who Wedge is. It's like he's not even a side character. He's just kind of around. Like he's not even somebody who like moves the plot forward. He's just kind of we need Luke to have a friend.
We say that, but he was at both Death Star battles, and he's like one of the only pilots that can put both of them on his X-wing's kill count.
Very, very true. Very true. Like I loved the fact that Wedge was like the person that trained, and again the fact that we actually got to see the Academy that they talk about.
Yeah,
so much that
was great.
That gets referenced and whatnot. But yeah, it was very heartfelt. It was the classic, embarrassing parent that everybody can relate to and whatnot. And that's a trope that never will be old, and it always gives you fucking anxiety, like when the kid has a Freudian slip and like tells their parent they're embarrassed by them, and you get like that heartbreaking moment, like that's like a
we all feel that way, but you don't tell them.
that to your point, that's classic Disney. That's classic Disney. They use that all the time. The parent and child that don't have shit in common.
Goofy movie.
Goofy movie. Fucking Turning Red. Like, so many different places where you have that, like the kids just like, yo, you're embarrassing. Like you're ruining my life. As soon as they say it, like fuck. Like whoops. I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But I really liked it a lot. And I also liked that it was with Star Wars, they always have like father figures, which I really love, because Dad lives matter and whatnot. But like I like that it was a mother-daughter relationship for once. That was like the highlight, because the original series, obviously you had like Obi-Wan is the father figure, Han his older brother, Darth Vader his actual dad, and then like the prequels, Obi-Wan again was like the father figure, and it was the relationship between Anakin, and then in the sequels it was Han again being the father figure and whatnot, and then Snoke to an extent for Ben and whatnot. So it's just like they always kind of lead in Palpatine and everything. They always kind of lead to like like the patriarchy and whatnot, not in a sexist way,
right?
But I liked that it was a mother-daughter.
Dude, moms have it rough in Star Wars. Now that I'm thinking about it,
that's what I'm saying.
Coming off of Andor, like Mon Mothma's like journey as a mother looks difficult as fuck. Shmi literally gets captured and beaten by Tusken Raiders.
Word.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other moms. So Princess Leia loses her own.
Dies.
Yeah, Padme dies in childbirth. Like Princess Leia loses her only son to the dark side. Like, whoa.
and then dies.
And, yeah.
Like, yeah, 1000%. My moms have it rough in Star Wars. Moms have it rough in Disney, period.
That's true.
Moms don't usually make it on the other side of Disney movies.
This Mother's Day, don't forget to watch your most heartwarming, tragic story of moms, brought to you by Star Wars, Disney,
that's
probably Marvel.
super apropos that when this episode drops, Mother's
Day's right around the corner.
Right around the corner. So yeah, if you don't know what to do with your mother this Mother's Day, watch a good old fashioned Disney movie where the mom dies.
Bambi, perhaps.
Right? Start with Bambi and then just keep going down the line. Like so much.
And just remember to tell him, I'm glad you're here.
Right, I'm glad you're here. Unlike the mother in this movie, that's the gift that keeps on giving.
And if your mom's dead, sorry.
our bad.
Yeah. Whoops on our part.
Fast forward through that past part. Sorry. We'll timestamp it in the comments. Like brief PSA about moms. If yours is dead, skip to this part.
Trigger warning for people who don't have moms.
You gotta put in a sound clip like trigger warning. Like, skip past. Oh, so. Peek behind the curtain, because I love to help support our podcast endeavors. A lot of the time I'll push play, and even if I don't have like a moment to listen to it, I'll just like put the volume down so we'll get like the stream. Did the soundboard shit come through?
Oh, it came through in the episode.
Let's fucking go.
It actually, shout out to Riverside.fm.
Shout outs to Riverside.
They hook you up, and what they do is they do a separate audio track for the soundboard that you can plug in with things.
Riverside's the fucking
extra file to download, but it was a small file because it was just audio, so nothing crazy to worry about there. I have one final note on I Am Your Mother, and I think we'll be safe to close it out here, and we'll be coming back with part 2 for you next week. But one thing that I thought was really cool to see in Star Wars is a stylized view that many actually recognize, and it kind of makes me hope that they let other well-known studios take a stab at our galaxy far, far away. Would not be upset to see Disney Animation do a Star Wars story. Think in the style of Zootopia or like Frozen and stuff like that. But a Star Wars story. I'd love to see it. If Pixar had something to say with droids, love to see it. I feel like they would kill it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be
so I would really like to, and I mean they're in the Disney family, so
a Pixar short of a day in the life of a Astro droid.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That shit would be fire.
I think that there's definitely plenty of stories that you can tell within styles that we know, and it's one of the cool things about Visions really is that they're pushing it out to other studios, most of which are not as well known. I mean, the first time around was very Japanese heavy influenced, and that it was on purpose because it's such a big reference point for Star Wars stories, starting with A New Hope all the way through what we're currently getting. But I do like that we got to see something in a familiar style, and whether it's 2D or 3D, I do welcome that and hope that they start to do it a little more in the future. Also, just kind of realizing, as we're talking, we're a little over an hour in, but we talked about the sequel trilogy a lot this episode, and I just want to kind of give it its props for it's got staying power. It's not everyone's favorite. There's things that I love and don't like about it, but that shit continues to stick with me. I think the more time we spend with it, just like with the prequel trilogy, I do really appreciate some of the things that they accomplished in that trilogy.
And we were always fans of the prequel trilogy.
That's true.
Were never
That's
on
true.
That, I like it now because they've made it mean more. We were always there.
Catching
up.
We lived.
We always stood by Hayden Christensen.
It's true.
We never got off
my
that
guy.
bandwagon. It's my fucking guy. Well, I guess my last thing that I really liked about I'm Your Mother, we always get pod racing, and now we got starfighter racing, which I thought was really cool, actual spaceships. And, we Star Wars always does really good with racing scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It harken back to the episode of Bad Batch, R.I.P. Tech. At least I hope it's R.I.P. Tech. Do fucking not have this man in a cage and bring him back. Let the stakes be real. Like, let me mourn this man in peace. Like, do not bring him back. like what shout outs to Jeremy Renner. I don't know, some people don't like him, so if you don't have to shout him out. It's fine. All right, I'll fix that. Shout outs to Clint Barton, the character. But it's like the scene in Endgame where he was, or Infinity War, he's like, don't do that. Don't give me hope. So it's like with Tech, don't give me hope. Just let him be dead. But I really liked the racing and everything. And then you had like the stuck up mom with the daughter and shit like that. I thought that was dope. and then I love the fact that like their spaceship's their house.
Yes. Yep. Which is not uncommon, actually. Like the Ghost is the Ghost Crew's house. Like Han and Chewie definitely feel like they live on the Falcon.
1000%. But kind of like you were saying, it's something that's always implied, like with the Millennium Falcon or like the Ghost and whatnot, was like to see someone, because we always see the ships in motion. We don't ever really, or if there is like a hangout scene, because it's particularly with the movie, like we only got like 2 hours to tell the story. You can't have like a hangout scene, like on the Falcon or whatnot. So it was like to actually like see like when she landed and like all their laundry was falling out and shit. And
I guess there really is underwear in space.
There you go. But nah, I really liked it. And then again, I'm a sucker for claymation. The story was great. Kind of going back to what you were saying before, I really liked how each, if not every episode, they didn't go with American actors. Like they really let each episode feel like it's a different part of the galaxy. Obviously, I'm Your Mother was probably like the most Star Warsy in terms of Wedge was in it. It's like in terms of like familiarity, like they actually like, all right, this takes place in the Skywalker era of Star Wars. But yeah, having the main cast not be American actors, I thought was really dope. But yeah, I Am Your Mother. Great episode. Happy Mother's Day.
Perfect one to close it out on. Didn't even plan that shit. Sometimes things just work out.
Look, I say all the time, I say it to Trav. Shout out to Trav, on our DB4L podcast. I say all the time, the calendar always tends to work out in our favor. In terms of putting content out, shit usually tends to line up. All the time.
I like to think it's because we just busted our ass. We have to have a few things break our way.
Big fucking facts. Big fucking facts. Do you have any final thoughts, my good brother?
No,
I can't wait for part 2.
I was gonna say, I'm really excited to talk about part 2. There's some great things in here. We'll have Travis back with us to talk Star Wars Visions Volume 2, Part 2. We'll have that coming out for you next week. Thanks for your patience and bearing with us, and the fact that we were pretty good on the Monday drops, but life gets in the way, and we're just trying our best out here. So we appreciate the support as always. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Annie letters RUOK pod, and find us at DB4L_pod for our Dragon Ball for Life endeavors. Matt and Trav always giving you the best over there with some incredible interviews in our Dragon Call series, and then manga chapter updates as they come out with lots more content around the corner. Just wanted to say thanks for hopping on with me, Matt. I know I kind of just gave them all the socials, but if you could do us a huge favor and drop a review on this, or if you're a fan of Dragon Ball for Life, pop over there and drop us a review. Like us on Instagram, retweet our tweets, put us out there, tell your friends, tell your family, maybe not your family, tell all your friends you're not uncomfortable having not safe for work takes on things. Because
looking at you, QVC.
Yeah, fucking QVC. Jesus Christ.
Back, then we love
people will be like, "Don't burn your bridge. Don't burn. I'll fucking burn whatever bridge I want to fucking burn." And Matt will fucking
build it.
I'll light the match. He'll throw the kerosene. I don't care.
You're right.
I already know.
Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say. When nothing comes out when they move their lips.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I mean, I ride or die for my podcast family. So
you already know, bro. You already know.
This has been No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, again, happy Mother's Day. Saw the mothers out there holding it down. We appreciate y'all. We value your existence a lot more than Disney does, apparently. And then just to kind of to go off of what Mikey was saying in terms of the DB4L podcast, we got the interview with the great Maya Fathina out. They are an amazing artist, voice actor, singer. And in honor of Asian American Heritage Month, that episode was out, and we get into a lot of shit about representation and, you know, just how a lot of us over here in the States, when we think about anime or manga, we kind of automatically just lock in on Japan as the only creator of this stuff. But Maya is of Indonesian descent, and they are holding it down just in terms of the representation, which is what we're here to do across the board. We're here to provide a voice for the voiceless where it comes to Star Wars or anime, just nerd culture in general. And the universe is expanding. We are building the Avengers of the podcasting nerd world, and we are very excited with some shit that we got going on. DB4L now on YouTube. We here, baby. We visual.
It's true.
You know, took us longer than expected because we were waiting on somebody else to do it for us, but they didn't. But we here now. But no, I'm super excited to cover episode 5 through 9 with you guys. That's gonna be another good one.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Wait.
So
Can't wait.
You have been listening to And Are You Okay? A Star Wars podcast. Thank you, man. And we will catch you next time. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. And with you. Happy Mother's